Hi, everybody. We just wanted to say hi. We have been meaning to reach out to a lot of you individually over the last month or so and let you know how we're doing. We've had several of you text and call us, just checking in on us, seeing how we've done with the move and with the job search. And it just seems like that there are never enough hours in the day. So we were just talking a few weeks ago that maybe it would be easiest to just sit down and shoot like a quick video and let you guys know what's been happening with us since we left the coulee in May, and if our plans for the future have changed. And so this is kind of what this is. It's just us hanging out. We're in Virginia right now on sort of a vacation, and so we thought this would be a good time because the boys actually went to bed. So that's great.
Yep, we've been in Virginia for a couple of days now. We got in late Monday evening. Is now Wednesday evening, so they're starting to adjust a little bit.
And we wore them out today.
Yeah, big old hike today. We'll talk about that in a minute, I guess. But we just, like Lee said, thought it would be easier than riding. Plus, videos have more connection, it seems like.
Yeah, but we've been gone about 6 weeks, I guess. We left the coulee about 6 weeks ago, the middle of May.
Yeah.
And we drove. We drove to Missouri and had our stuff shipped out ahead of us. And so the drive itself was kind of an adventure.
I mean, it was long. They say it's supposed to be like 28 hours drive time to be able to get to Missouri. So we thought, okay, well, we need to try to hit 8 hours
of driving. Of actual driving.
Which put us at like
12 to 14 hour days with stops with the boys.
16-hour days, but I don't remember.
And then the dog.
It was just really long. But before we kind of get into that, I wanted to say thank you for everybody that offered to help us load up. And I know we didn't really get anybody to come help us because we didn't ask, and you guys kept saying make sure you ask. We just there was a lot of concern about the coronavirus on our part, and so we just didn't ask
because we didn't want to be sick on the trip, and we didn't want to get to Missouri and get family sick, and we also wanted our boys to be able to spend as much time with their grandma Janet as possible before we left the coulee, and so we really tried to limit how many people we were interacting with. So, and also just logistically, we didn't really know for sure everything that we were taking until we were loading the moving truck, because as much as I sorted and got rid of stuff, not being able to donate things places and not having the dump open really limited how much we could get rid of. So we really were in those last few days still sorting and trying to figure out what was worth taking and what wasn't. And that ended up being like a really hectic time for us, and it was just things that you can't outsource. I can't ask you to decide, do I take this or not? Those are things that we have to decide. So like Jeremiah said, thank you to all of you that offered to help, and those of you that did come by and help move the heavy stuff. We are super grateful for that and very thankful. So.
And then getting back to the drive
took 3 days. We did it in 3 days
of super long driving. And the plan was to try to van camp, because that was a possibility for us.
Because we drove out, for those of you that don't know, we left our pickup behind, and we drove the minivan and the Toyota. And the boys and I were in the little red Toyota, and Jeremiah was in the van with the dog. And we had hoped to not have a lot of stuff in the van. We ended up chockering that thing full.
Yeah, because we, even though we had shipped our stuff, it was going to take about 2 weeks for it to get there, and we realized that we needed stuff while we were going to be in those 2 weeks. So we packed a whole lot of stuff for 2 weeks, which I think turned into closer to 3 weeks till we got our stuff. So we ended up needing all of that type of stuff.
But our original plan, like Jeremiah had said, was to van camp the whole way, to just kind of, A, to save money, B, so we could really drive as far as we could every day before we stopped, not be tied to a hotel reservation. but also just, did I say this, coronavirus.
Yeah.
We drove through multiple states, and every state was in a different open status. Like Montana was completely open, and so was Wyoming. South Dakota had some limitations. So we would just thought it would be easier to plan on van camping.
Anyway, we ended up at a rest stop.
Gray Cliff, Wyoming?
Yeah, something like that. And it was very nice. They had a big old dog pen area for
pet
pets.
area.
So we put Bumblebee in there while we did stuff. He enjoyed that. The boys played. We ate dinner. Got all the stuff moved.
Everything got moved into the Toyota or stacked next to the van. It was very classy.
Well, Bumblebee was outside in the dog pen.
In the kennel. We
with
kenneled him for the night.
Very minimal stuff next to him.
Just a house plant.
Yeah,
and some dog food.
Which turned out to not be a good idea because it froze and the houseplant kind of
died.
Yeah.
And so Manuel kind of cried a lot. Anyway, not the point. We digress.
But we blew up the whatever that is called, the mattress.
The air mattress.
And we all crammed in there, and it was going pretty good.
Seats all laid down.
You know, the boys fell asleep right away. Emmanuel was like in this little hole in the back. Originally, Enoch was back there, but he wanted to sleep next to us, and Emmanuel was like, I'll go to the hole, you know, because he's like, that sounds fun. Only he was not sleeping on a mattress, so when he woke up in the morning, he's like, I'm all sore. I don't want to do that again, you know.
Yeah. So van camping was going pretty good. We actually got everybody tucked in cozy, and everybody
van was warm.
The van was warm, and I was like, oh yeah, we're going to sleep. But two things happened. First, we didn't have the forethought to turn off the interior lights so that if the door had to open, the van wouldn't light up like a Christmas tree. Okay? And second, I didn't know that Jeremiah was slamming beverages.
Water. Lots and lots of water while we were driving.
The whole drive.
I was tired, and so I was trying to stay awake, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep drinking water. And all of a sudden, it hit me probably about 3 o'clock in the morning.
It wasn't even 3 o'clock in the morning. The boys, the kids had just fallen asleep. They maybe been asleep half an hour.
I feel like it was 3 o'clock in the morning.
I have to go to the bathroom.
And so I got up.
And this is when we realized we didn't turn off the interior lights.
Well, then it was like the fourth time later that I was like, I'm just going to turn off these interior lights so Lee stops yelling at me.
Anyway.
And she's like, well, why didn't you do that earlier? And I was like, I didn't know it was going to be an issue.
So he gets up and he says, I have to go to the bathroom. So we have to pull kids off of us. He gets out of the van that lights up like a Christmas tree, and then he doesn't shut the door the whole way. So the entire time he's gone, the lights are on. They never turn off because he didn't shut the door.
I didn't know that the lights were on going to be an issue. I didn't want to slam the door to wake everybody up.
It was an issue.
So anyway, van camping didn't turn out very well, and we got to driving, and the next night, Emmanuel was like, I don't want to van camp again. And so we didn't van camp again. We ended up getting a hotel for the next night, which wasn't too bad of a deal.
It worked out great because we got like 3 hours of sleep the night previously. And so by the time we made really good time that second day. Because I don't know if you've ever driven in eastern Montana and Wyoming and part of South Dakota, you can drive fast. There's not a lot going on. So we ended up stopping the second night in Mitchell, South Dakota. And all in all, it was a pretty uneventful day. The boys traveled great. We made good time. There was really good weather.
And Mitchell was the place that we chose to stop because if we needed to try to get
an 8-hour day.
8 to 10 hours worth of driving. I don't remember what it was. But we were like, if we need to drive for another hour to be able to get that in. Otherwise, we're going to have to drive for like 11 hours of drive time the next day. And it's like, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah. So we stopped in Mitchell, and Jeremiah got lost in a parking lot. He couldn't figure out how to get out of a parking lot and into the hotel parking lot.
Well, before that, Lee was tired, and she's like, yeah, well, let's just go to a hotel. And I was like, okay. I found this hotel. It had like 4.7 stars, but it was like 2 extra miles. And there was a hotel for like a Slumberjack or something like that. And I was like, well, I better turn in here because...
A Slumberjack, that's a sleeping
bag I don't know what it is.
It was a Motel 6, people.
And so we pull into this. And Manuel was like, I don't want to stay here. And so I just pulled in there to make sure that we wanted to drive the extra 2 miles.
Well, I would have slept in the van before I stayed in that hotel. It was frightening.
Yeah. And then we made it just in time, like 20 minutes to spare before they locked the doors at the hotel that we pulled into. And we spent the night. Of course, it takes a while to calm the kids down when there's a new place and, they're running around screaming and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. But they did. They slept. And then so we got up the next day, and South Dakota was pretty open at the time. They were serving actually breakfast at the hotel, which we were really surprised about, but also really thankful for, because it saved us from having to either eat cereal bars or stop at like McDonald's for breakfast or something. And so we got on the road that day, and we drove the rest of the way to my folks' house. And honestly, we had great weather until we were about an hour away from my parents, and it started to rain. And then we made more stops in the last 45 minutes of that trip than we did the entire 3 days previous, because everybody had to pee and somebody had to poop, and it was just stop, 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 stop. And so by the time we got to my dad's, I let JP out of the van, and he just took off. He just took off running. And I didn't think we were going to get him back, but my dad scooped him up. So we made the trip in 3 days. It was a good trip. We were really blessed with good weather, and the boys did awesome.
Yeah, so. No car problems or anything like that. And
the gas was super cheap because of the pandemic, so there's always that.
Yeah, that always made it nice.
So I filled up somewhere for like $12 because the Toyota's not a big car. So yeah, it was taking me back to high school a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get there. There's a lot of exploring to do on the property. There's a creek, and the water's just flowing. The boys are playing. They're looking for frogs, finding turtles and frogs, and all sorts of different types of animals and ticks. And
oh yeah, we discovered ticks. The boys discovered ticks and mosquito bites really bad, which they never really had when we were out there, which is surprising. But now in Missouri, the mosquitoes there seem to like feasting on them. So
yep, and Emmanuel got into some poison oak.
Yeah, his whole arm swelled up, so it's good to know he's very allergic to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so but we mostly spent the first 2 weeks that we were in Missouri just resting, sleeping, and playing. We camped out in the living room. Jeremiah and I camped in the living room because none of our stuff was there yet.
Yeah, on the blow-up
on the air mattress. And the boys shared a bed in one of my dad and stepmom had left up a couple beds downstairs, and the boys slept in those. So we just camped and relaxed, and the only thing that really happened, which was pretty big, was Enoch turned 4.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and everybody came over because of the holiday.
Memorial Day weekend.
And so he was super glad that everybody came over for his birthday. He got Bumblebee Dragon Transformer, which he loves, and he's been talking about for like 3 months that when I get my birthday, I'm going to get a Bumblebee Dragon Transformer, which they don't make anymore. So
eBay.
Yeah, prices have skyrocketed. But we had gift certificates, so that took into that, and so we were like, okay, we'll just splurge on him because, how many times do you get to be 4?
Well, how many times do you have to move when you're turning 4 in the middle of a pandemic to a whole brand new state? So we totally let him play the pity card on us and splurged on a bigger birthday gift than we normally would. But he was super excited, and he had a shark birthday, and they all ate way too much. Too much cake, too much sweets, too much. But all the cousins came over, and it was a good time, and, outside of that, what else and Jeremiah started looking for work.
Yeah, started looking for work.
Well, not started, but increased his looking for work, because we started looking for jobs in Missouri in probably, April?
Yeah, probably March. And had some interviews, and found out that Missouri has like this main site for all the schools to put in their job applications. And so I applied to, I don't know how many in March. And then I come to find out like in May that nobody actually looks at that site. You have to go to that site and then go to the school site or email the principal directly to be able to get an interview. and the principal had said, nobody ever looks at that. It's like, how is anybody supposed to know that? So yeah.